So we're happy to continue our leadership track, and I'm very privileged, honored, and pleased to introduce another special guest, special speaker, my CEO, and I can say that is my privilege. I will welcome Giorgi SHAGIDZE, Giorgi, as we used to call each other in the company, and that's what I'm saying because I've heard during making the picture about something Domnul Giorgi and the girls. So it's Giorgi and HR. So we are very happy to have in our country, and I'm speaking from the HR community part, to have such leaders that can share with us from the experience of building, growing companies, bringing the companies to the stock exchanges like London Stock Exchange, as Giorgi had the experience to bring TBC to London Stock Exchange. And that's the path we are following now with maib. To have the privilege to learn from the experience international, like from Barclays, from London and Dubai. To learn from there and to cherish and to enrich our experience from the Stanford and Cambridge experience that Giorgi has. And with all this, to have a very strong role model of a leader, humble, inspiring, encouraging for making mistakes, helping us as the Moldovan community and maib team to make the transformation that is leading all the community to the success stories, to learning from these experiences. So please welcome Giorgi SHAGIDZE, maib
Please
CEO.
welcome to the stage the next speaker within the leadership track.
We test once. Oh, okay, now maybe it's good. So I started by saying that there is this professor, Michio Kaku, that I follow on YouTube, who is the professor of astrophysics, and nothing to do with HR or Moldova. But he says that after such a great introduction, I'm looking forward to hearing speaking myself. So this is how Svetlana made the introduction of me. And many thanks for it. I'm very happy that we work together. She's our chief human officer, I can say like this. And I'm very pleased to be here and present something from our experience about the leadership and cultural transformation that today we will go through the slides. We did few slides. I hope they will help us in the to structure this discussion. The very first one, and this is important to say, and I'll try to explain what this slide means. The message of this slide is that the pace of the change is increasing. So in the past, the change has been happening since, I don't know, the universe exists. But in the past, the change was happening slower, and then as we develop, the change is happening much faster than that was happening in the past. And then you can say that this chart is supposed to tell you how many years it took for certain invention to penetrate entire world. And you can say that the cars, it took quite a number of years before it penetrated, and maybe there are some other places even today where it hasn't yet penetrated fully. The telephone, the same. But then if we move on from the left-hand side, you can see that it took not so many years for computers to penetrate entire world. It took about half of that time for mobile to penetrate into the world. And then how many years it will take for artificial intelligence to penetrate entire world when it's up and running and when it starts to operate in the full capacity. So the change, the pace of the change is increasing. Now, when the pace of the change is increasing, clearly there is a role for leaders to ensure that they address this change. They acknowledge and understand this change. And there have been great companies in the world who have missed this particular moment where they needed to change. And those great companies now are history. And we know the companies like Nokia, which is the mobile phone producer. There is another story of Nokia software. Before iPhone introduced their phone, had maybe 80% of the market, and they were absolute leaders. And one day they started to become irrelevant for the market. So this was the pretty much a failure to understand when the change needs to start and when the change needs to fully implement it. Now, I've been going through various materials and the pictures, and I think this is something that very clearly says what is important when we speak about the long term and when we speak about the long-term success. And it is clearly the one who can adapt to the new environment, who will win. It's not the best, as we saw from the case of Nokia or from the case of Kodak or from any other case that we can bring on the either international or on the local level. There are other many studies as well. This pattern that the leaders go out from the industry actually accelerates, so that now people go out from the industry much faster than it was in the past. But then, okay, then we need change, and then all of us, perhaps, and I hope, are aligned that we need the change. But what is the change that we need, and from where to where we need to change from to? And very importantly, I think some people may say that this is the strategy, this is the right direction, this is the leadership vision, and so on. And there are many sayings, and I think the culture eats strategy for breakfast is something that more and more people now share and repeat. I think if you start any change based on our own experience, as well as what access to the materials we have, the most difficult and most important change you are facing, it is change, it is cultural transformation, it is change in the culture. And this gentleman actually says, with very experience, it took me to age 55 to figure out that the most important change or most difficult change is the change of the corporate culture. Now, what is corporate culture? And I will not go clearly in very details describing every single nuance of the culture. But then maybe we can say this is the combination of the values, norms, and behaviors. And when we think about the values, this is not something that we have written, even though even in our bank we write lots of posts, we communicate lots of descriptions and clarifications of the values. But these are the values that people feel they belong to, and people share these values. And not necessarily they share those values because they read something about it, but because they have been operating this way, they have been fully embedded to the values that the company has. And if we think about the banking, the values that the traditional banks have and traditional banks share, they are more siloed, more conservative, more risk-averse, more afraid of of the mistakes. So this would be the typical traditional bank. You go anywhere in the world, traditional banks' values would be somewhere around what I said. And then you are competing with people who are innovative, who are inventing, who do not afraid the mistakes, who will try, learn, and then adjust and try, learn again. And then you are competing with them. And maybe this is why there is this company, Alibaba, whose market cap was more than the market caps of entire European banking sector. There is this company of Revolut, whose last round of the investment ended up with the market valuation of $35 billion. This is some of many very well-known European banks taken together. I don't want to list the names, but these are the names that when we were starting our careers, they were for us absolutely amazing, best class and best practice. So the banking is then competing to people who have this type of culture and behavior. Now, we do acknowledge and understand this at maib, and we started the huge huge transformation in the bank last year with the refreshed strategy, and we started a huge cultural transformation in the bank as well. Svetlana mentioned 60 of us right now are going through the Stanford leadership course designed specifically for maib. We took 60 people from the top and middle management of maib to visit and see how ING, which is one of the banks who have adopted new standard and practice very well, how ING did it. And by the way, ING has started cultural transformation using best practice from Spotify. You all know Spotify is a music company. It has nothing to do with the bank. Maybe its owners do not even know how bank operate. I hope they have bank cards, but they are not bankers. So ING took this system from Spotify and ensured that their cultural transformation, their systems transformation was done based on the best practice in Spotify. And this is how then they can compete with the various fintech, high-tech, and various other players. This is what we are going through. We started last year the transformation to more agile way of working, more the leadership culture, which is a more servant leader as opposed to boss who is sitting in the office and all the people waiting outside, and there are 2 doors before you get into his office. By the way, we don't wear suits. I had in the morning the conference where I had to wear the suits, otherwise it is not the practice that we do. And the cultural transformation is a must and is the only way if any company needs and want to win in the future. So this is our picture. So that would be, if I wear a suit, that would be the type of the suit that we wear. This is our agile teams. We call the agile teams people who already gone through this the transformation. Now, I don't want to say that we have finished it. I think what we need to say is that we have started very exciting ambition journey. We will finish the transformation of the head office, retail and SME perimeter to agile. Next year it will be corporate and operation, and the year after we will finish the first phase of the transformation. Now, the most important thing about the transformation is that we need to understand and create the culture which is prepared to constantly change. So there is no end state. There is no the state that we can say that, hey, we just transformed and in another 10 years we will sit down and look how the business will develop. No, in fact, it will be constant change, and our culture will enable constant change to meet our customers' rapid change in their expectation. So this is all. I hope my 15 minute was used wisely, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.